goal of the noble heart for a long while, but how to say, I've been blessed with natural bodhicitta, so I didn't feel like I had much to work on. And so when I started teaching, I just picked up this Zen-inspired Buddhist name, Zenkai, and it means all-encompassing. Now, the reason I chose this name is because I was pretty much into Jiddu Krishnamurti, who always talk about ultimate truth from a different angle. Truth is often represented in Buddhism as a multifaceted diamond. It's like looking at a six and at a nine is just the perspective, like if you're in front or in the back, that defines whether it's a six or a nine. So Buddhism, the truth in Buddhism is mostly like that. It's sort of the same. So there are different facets to truth. It's represented by the diamond. So Zenkai is sort of a goal to get to know all the facets of the diamond, to take the time to really look at reality and understand it completely. So that is my goal as a teacher and as a student of Buddhism myself. And I was telling to some of you that yes, it's fun at some point to have a refuge ceremony. That's where you receive your Buddhist name normally. So we could do that for fun later than this year if you guys feel like it, or maybe at the beginning of next. Anyway, that's mostly for serious practitioners. Obviously, you want to stick path for a long while and are looking for um, sort of dissolve their own identity, their own ego. That's also why you receive a name, so that you don't operate from your, let's say, your old personality anymore. It makes it a little bit easier to reinvent yourself, to have a new identity, just like a new avatar, right? People feel very bad in real life, they get a cool avatar, and all of a sudden they become cool. Well, a Buddhist name is the same. It allows you to be cool. All right. So without further ado, let's just move into a little 10 minutes of meditation. So let's take a deep breath. And let us relax from our day at work, if it's your case. Guys, let's just disconnect a little bit from worldly. Actually, let's follow with two more deep breaths. Okay, so just like always, we'll start relaxing slowly, starting with our head. So scan your body from the tip of your head, going down to your forehead, release tensions there. Sure your eyebrows are relaxed. The entire area around the eyes, very important. Let your eyelids fall naturally. Relax the area around your ears, your jaw. Make sure you're not clenching your teeth. A little bit open while your lips are touching. Tongue should be touching the palate. And then relax the lower part of your head and the upper neck. As you do that, make sure that your head and your spine are well aligned. So head, neck, and spine should be completely straight, well, naturally straight. And the way to achieve that is to rock your body back and forth, let it fall naturally to its position, and then you can rock sideways as well, and do the same. That should remove any tension from the spine. Relax the shoulders, let your arms sit comfortably in your lap. It shouldn't create any tension in the chest. The chest should remain soft. Make sure that there are no tensions in your upper back either. And try to scan the spine up and down, see if anything is holding left or right. If you find an area of tension, sort of focus your attention on it and just visualize it releasing and relaxing. It can also bring a feeling of warmth and of release there. Always take the time to notice the heart that is beating, that is moving blood and energy all around your body. That slows down as you relax. Allow your breathing and your heart to slow down quite a bit. In a state of calmness, you don't even need to breathe 10 times a minute. Relax the lower back, area in front of the belly. And make sure that the legs are providing a good platform for your body, that they're not like in a weird position that could throw you out of balance or put a leg to sleep. Just make sure that this is comfortable. Relax all limbs, both of your arms down to the hands, fingers, and then from the hips to the thighs to the calves, the feet and the toes. Release any tension that you find there. Then breathe deeply once more. Every time you exhale, your meditation deepens. You might exhale through your mouth in sort of a ah sound. For example, you would go and breathe in and go and feel the tension leaving your body as you. Right, and as we know, our job here is to follow the breath in and out of our body. We are flexing our mindfulness muscle, making sure we are in control of our own mind, that we monitor our own mind healing. So if we see that we start thinking unwillingly or hallucinating, as it's sometimes happens when we're slowing down real well, let's just make sure that we are bringing back the mind back, bringing back the mind to the breath, and just follow it again, very gently. Thoughts come, label them thinking, go back to the breath. Emotions come, same thing, feeling, back to the breath. So let's do that until the bell rings again. Alright, you can come back to the world slowly. Stretch your body a little bit. Find your place back in this session. Hope you manage to relax well. No struggles this time. You guys are all achieving the quality of meditation that you would like. Alright, fantastic. Hey Creek, just before you arrived, I was saying that I had to leave earlier today. Creek, ladies and gentlemen, helps me with the night session, and he's a very good leader for meditation. Would you mind doing the second session for me after I go?
No, not at all. That sounds great.
Awesome. Alright, so let's go back to our little book here, titled The Heart of Compassion by Dilgo Piensi. It was actually interpreting something written many centuries ago, called the 37 Verses of the Boddhisattva. So for those that have this book, simply gonna look at the opening of the root text and at the first verse. So let me read again the first part of the opening. Namo Lokeshvaraya. Though he sees that in all phenomena there is no coming and going, he strives solely for the sake of being. To the sublime teacher inseparable from Avalokiteshvara, the protector of beings, I pay constant homage with respectful body, speech and mind. The perfect Buddha's source of happiness and ultimate peace exists through having accomplished the sacred Dharma, and that in turn depends on knowing how to practice it. This practice of the Bodhisattvas I shall therefore explain. So, last time we've had a conversation about Buddhist loving kindness and love in general, and how it manifests. How can you practice love? How can you be and bathe in a state of love if you don't know what it is? Same is true of happiness. How do you know when you have happiness? Is it, simply ecstatic joy? Possibly not. But today we're talking a little bit about Avalokiteshvara here, who's, I don't know a better way of putting it, I'll just call him the god of compassion. But it's more than that. It's not just a being as you and I are a being. It's sort of the fundamental state of things. And in the little text I just read, they say he's the protector of beings, and they talk about the perfect Buddhas within us. So my first question for you today is, why do we have Buddhas? Aren't there just one Buddha? Anybody wants to tackle that question? Why is it Buddhas within us?
Because we all aspire to be like the Buddha. So we are all aspiring to be Buddha. So we are Buddhas.
Alright. And
Buddha nature.
bingo. These are very good explanations. And I see that we're running out of questions today. We'll probably have to rebuild this temple soon.
We need to have a second level.
yes. We'll use the auditorium
Orchestra
from
seating and balcony
Subcon.
seats.
Yes. we
VIP
and
places.
so you are right. I really like the first explanation that Buddha is a title. It's not a someone. It means someone that is enlightened. And I really like what you said about Buddha nature as well. But let's not get into this one already. So the word Buddha being a title means he's the enlightened one. He's been enlightened. So again, what does that mean? How does one become enlightened? Basically, the trail for my questions today is we've learned how to recognize love. How can we recognize a Buddha now? How can we recognize a enlightened being? And what does it really mean? So what makes a Buddha a Buddha? You guys have any idea?
Equanimity.
Equanimity? Would you like to expand a little bit on that?
It's a person that is possessing love and loving kindness towards everything and that happens, anything that may come, good or bad, and anything that manifests. So it doesn't get altered or exasperated or in negative emotions. Just keeps calm and is always able to send loving kindness to everybody and to everything, being harmony or one with everything.
Is it someone that lives in ego, you'd say?
Impossible. It's if it's oneness, it's because it has no ego, but has acknowledged that we are all interdependent.
And if I'm into oneness, am I into oneness only with other human beings?
Everything that is manifested, everything that is, even
Mhm.
I think even one with thoughts and emotions.
Right. So that's a very good explanation. Thank you. I think it closes the loop, right? It's sort of you're a person, but you're a person as wide as the universe, as inclusive as the universe, as loving as the universe. Right? So from that perspective, a perfectly enlightened Buddha is sort of manifesting the ground or letting the ground, or some people would say letting God express itself through them, letting the universe or the cosmological order express itself through them. Um, and it's an interesting notion because, for example, could it be possible that sometimes for a minute I am completely free of ego self, and I am the Buddha for a minute? You think, guys, that that's possible?
For sure, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going through this long thought process here to bring us back to demystify something about when you hear about gods and emanation and manifestations. Basically, it's if you're living through that minute, you could imagine that you became a vessel for the Buddha for that minute. All of a sudden, you felt connected to the universe and you did the will of the universe. You said the things that the universe wanted to say. You gave the space that the universe would have given, right? So when because they will tell you, for example, that the Dalai Lama is an emanation of Avalokiteshvara, the god of compassion. It's actually, they call him the 14th Dalai Lama because it's the 14th reincarnation of this particular monk. But their job is to emanate Avalokiteshvara, and they are trained in this. And how are they trained in this? Well, they are trained to recognize bodhicitta, to recognize love, recognize compassion. They practice, they do all kinds of things so that those minutes where they can be a good Buddha representative are more and more present in their lives. Right? I used to call that Lama Factory, the training that they received, because they would go into very elaborate study programs and practices and realizations and teachings before they could do that job well. But in the end, a pretty wise monk came out of that process, out of that actor. So if you manage to connect to this thing, you can become a treasure discoverer, you can get a Buddha once in a while, and if you were to become the Buddha full time, then you would receive the title that you would be the enlightened one, or one of the enlightened if we turn it around, and you would be a living Buddha. So don't be taken aback when you hear about manifestations and goddess or the Buddha becoming a cat. You know, the Buddha becoming a cat is like the cat deciding that he doesn't need to eat the mice, therefore it's sparing it, and so it's showing compassion and it's allowing things to exist and to live. Therefore, in that moment, it could be said that the goodness of the Buddha was in the cat or in any sentient being. We could also say that the goodness of the Buddha is in every blade of grass and in every tree, because they're very respectful of their surroundings and they don't seem to be crushing anything, standing in place, enduring everything. So trees, I guess, by nature are very compassionate beings. Same thing with water. We could say that the Buddha is in the water because if I put my head or my hand in a body of water, the water will move away to allow me to get in. But the minute that I remove it, it will take back its place. So water is very wise and malleable and flexible. So last time we sort of learned to recognize love. Now it's about recognizing love and Buddhahood in all things. Does that make sense to you, what I'm saying here? Uh-huh. Yes? Yes, absolutely. So I could do an entire talk just on the three kayas, the three bodies. One is the Dharmakaya. So what I'm trying to have us recognize here is sort of the absolute nature of the universe, the fact that there is tremendous harmony to the cosmos and it all works, and although there is creation and destruction, when destruction happens, it is not evil destruction, it is constructive destruction that's preparing the next phase of being, just like the human death. So the Dharmakaya is the ultimate reality, let's say the nature of the universe. And Nirmanakaya is the appearance that things are solid, that I'm dealing with people. But in reality, there is another layer that if I had a special pair of glasses and I could look around and see all the atoms around me, it would be very difficult to distinguish between a desk and myself and the floor and any other object. At the atomic level, it's just a bunch of particles moving all the time. I suppose it would look a little bit like when you're watching a TV channel and there's nothing on and it just looks like a snowstorm, right? So this is probably close to what the Sambhogakaya is. But Sambhogakaya also means body of joy. So it's sort of the play of the atoms to turn, and it's the play of light that creates the illusions of the physical objects that look at. So that's why I chose this name for the Sangha, is because we are in VR and we are using little pixels of light to create the illusion of a world that looks solid but that is not. So I thought that it was the perfect, like the technology is sort of samurai. The technology behind the physical appearances that we're seeing it. And also VR is very fun, so I thought a body of joy, like your full tracking suit that you put when you come in VR, I thought that fit very, very well with a body of joy. And so that's where that came from. But yes, it is to explain this, that in the beginning there is sort of an absolute harmony to everything, and then there are forces at play that gives it different appearances at different times because of different causes and conditions. So it ties in with causality a lot, the Trikaya. So does that sort of bridge with what you had been reading, Casper, with Thich Nhat Hanh? Said it better. I know. I know. Yeah. So I think of them like as the spiritual level, the scientific level, and then the everyday level. And it helps to sort of do a little bit of Vipassana meditation, do a little bit of philosophy about our world, to think about those guys. So back to our...
I have a question.
Yep.
What about thinking on a basic level? Like, what's kind of Buddhism rolled into one sentence?
Buddhism's purpose is to
For you, of
teach
course.
people. No, but it's for the Buddha. It's basically the teaching starts with that. It is a methodology to bring the end of suffering. So if you have a lot of suffering in your life and you're not too happy, or you care about constructing a society that is more harmonious and peaceful, it is a philosophy or like ancient psychology that will teach you ways that you can introspect and that you can relate to everything there is, so that you live a happier life.
So basically, you just kind of live with a basis of understanding. I feel like that gets you kind of half of the way there.
Well, there you have practices as well. So, like the mindfulness meditation that we were doing, Vipassana is more for understanding, while the mindfulness meditation is more to develop a habit of looking inside and looking deeply. So the entire practice boils down to love and the awareness of it. So you learn to recognize love, and you learn to recognize when it's absent from your life. And when you notice that it's absent from your life, you bring it back into your life. You go back to the peace. And so by combining skillful means with wisdom, you sort of stabilize your experience of peace for yourself and for others.
So living with the basis of understanding, but with the basis behind that, kindness for yourself and others.
Right, because, and the next verse speaks a little bit about that, but you need to dedicate, you need to aspire for a better world for the entire humanity, otherwise you wouldn't have sufficient motivation. It's like cooking a five covers meal just for you. You won't find the energy to do that. You'll probably just have a sandwich if you're alone. But if you see that a lot of people are suffering and you feel like you have found the keys to help them, then you can cook a better meal and feel more people. You find the motivation helping them. So this is sort of why we talk a lot about loving kindness and the Bodhisattva way and helping others to enlightenment, because there's a renewable source of motivation to stick to the path and make a difference.
Yeah, and it's so cool to be connected with so many different walks of life through the internet too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
where
absolutely.
everyone feels welcome here to provide their perspective.
Yeah,
Or at least feel
so that's one thing also about Buddhism. It's not like you can be, for example, a Christian and a Buddhist at the same time. You could be a Muslim and a Buddhist at the same time. It's just a philosophy like Confucianism. That was the philosophy of Confucius. Well, this time is the philosophy of the Buddha, hence Buddhism. But there is no faith nor any blind, request made to anyone practicing Buddhism. It's just a set of tools that allow you better your life, better yourself, if you care for that. So for sure, it's always fun. We've had people from every tradition. It's always fun to share with everyone. Me, I don't necessarily consider myself a Buddhist at heart. I define myself as a Buddhist because the literature that helped me the most, the masters, the practices that helped me the most, came from Buddha. But I am just a human at heart. I'm trying to be as complete a human as I can be, and found that Buddhism was the most direct path to it for me. But I also love the Tao quite a lot, and all spiritual paths are valid if you practice them right, in my opinion. So maybe we can go back to our main business, which was the manifestation of the Buddha in the world. So we have Avalokiteshvara, and he comes as perfect Buddhas that are source of happiness and ultimate peace. But the Buddha could be in, I don't know, in a punctured tire, or in something that happens to you and really shakes you up and makes you realize something important about your life. So it's not necessarily even a being, it could be an event that allows you to understand what's wrong with your life. So Avalokiteshvara, the god of compassion, sort of manifests like this and appears here and there so you get a better life, bit by bit.
But then the Buddha is you too. So you're basically looking at yourself inward
Yes,
and kind of
exactly.
how you're going to respond to that.
Exactly.
Are
So
you gonna
that's
act
like
like a
Carl
Buddha?
Sagan. That's like Carl Sagan's quote that we are a way that the universe found to become aware of itself, or the universe looking at itself. So that is true when you are sort of free of ego. Because if you are just wondering what the neighbor said about you yesterday, you are not really in that space where you are in communion with the rest of humanity. You're just basically building a grudge or a conflict.
I mean, I feel like it could be ego, but if you solely think of yourself as part of the bigger picture in terms of whoever else is also affected by that situation. So I guess that in some cases that could be everyone. In some cases it could be, your coworkers. I feel like as long as you have the betterment of the larger picture in mind, that could also be
Well,
ego, because that's your picture too.
the ego is the executive function of the human brain, right? If you want to self-protect, if you want to feed yourself, if you want to keep yourself alive, you need some ego. It has a function. It's like fear. You need some fear so that you don't go and lay in a basket of snakes. But you cannot operate from it all the time. You cannot operate from fear all the time, and it's better not to operate from ego all the time. And switching is sort of connecting with your Buddha nature, your inner temple, your inner peace. You can call it many different names. But there are times where you really don't need an ego. And if you keep on using it, then you're sort of looking at yourself through like those carnival mirrors that deform your body, right? So if you look at yourself through the ego, you will find yourself insufficient or on the contrary, very proud that you're better than everybody else and so on. So all kinds
Yeah,
of
so like a pinch of
unhealthy.
it, like a tablespoon, or like a teaspoon compared to a tablespoon.
Right,
Just like a
right. So
bit of
you
it to keep you going.
The way I explain that usually is that you need to use the ego or your intelligence and your intellectual knowledge as tools. They cannot drive the car. They are there to help you achieve certain things in your life. But if you're starting to, because your hammer was useful once to nail a nail, if you're starting to use that to cook now, you're mistaken, right? So that's what we tend to do with our egos and our God-given abilities, misuse them because we're in a sort of mild psychosis all the time. All right. Um,
Yeah, I heard
Let
it
us
referred
read.
to as like a controlled or your own perspective on the world is your own kind of hallucination of it.
Absolutely. I mean, who says and when you're seeing the color green, you're seeing exactly the same green as me? Probably we don't even have the exact same number of cones in our eyes. I might have brain damage and you don't. My eyes might have been damaged. Lighting condition may be different. Basically, it's highly unlikely that when we look at the same green thing, we see the same thing or have the same judgment about it. So, in a way, all of our realities are individuals and fabricated.
Yeah. In some ways too though, we all kind of do. Like everyone knows that a flower's pretty. Like that's green, I guess.
Yes. Hey, I have to move ahead. Yes, Spicy.
So I had a quick question actually. You mentioned how like a little bit of ego is kind of necessary, in order to function as human beings. It made me think of how some people, whether through like psychedelics or through like really deep meditative practices, they can undergo something called like ego death. Like, what is your opinion on that, on ego death?
It is necessary if you're gonna achieve any kind of awakening. Uh, the ego death. That's where you decide that actually the ego won't be driving the car anymore. And it's the same agony as the agony of death, because what is it that dies apart from the body when you're on your deathbed? It's actually what you will miss about your own personality, it's your attachments, it's the memories that you have created. But it's all mental constructions. None of that was there when you were born as a baby. So everything else is sort of the ID that you built for yourself. And that's where the agony of death here is. So if during your life you start to understand that all of that is big bull, then you start experiencing ego death because you're like, oh my god, I don't know who I am anymore, right? What
Mm.
if it's not true that I'm always generous, or if it's not true that I'm always a thief, then who am I? Because you've been defined either by your parents, society, or yourself in little boxes all your life, and all of a sudden you're dropping the boxes, and all of a sudden you become a limitless being. So you will still use your ego to feed yourself, but you don't believe in the ego life. You don't believe that you have to always be generous or always be a thief anymore, and
Mm.
that's why the ego death is conducive to awakening.
Thank you. That's very well put.
You know,
I was wondering
and
if what you just said is related to the imaging that we have of Avalokiteshvara or Chenrezig with 1,000 arms, or as the mother, what's the name in Chinese, Japanese?
Kuan Yin.
Not Tara, but Kuan
Oh,
Yin, or the 1,000 armed Chenrezig. Like we can do so many things or see so many things. How can you relate that to what you just said, that we gotta keep on doing so many things?
yeah. The thing is that if you don't operate from ego, you sort of immediately start to be more productive and more efficient. Why? Because less drama means less energy spent. It's like the example from the neighbor I was taking. If I'm fighting with the neighbor all the time, maybe then I try to sit and work on the computer on my new book, but I'm too distracted mentally to write that page. So you can see that this is a very obvious intellectual job, but maybe I'm just mad and I was supposed to fix my car and I decided not to do it because I'm mad. Uh, So immediately when you remove the drama from your life, you have more space to welcome more in your life. And this is often illustrated by those many armed deities that can accomplish all kinds of things at the same time. The more profound illustration of that is that the ground of the universe is doing everything at the same time, isn't it? Like the planets are going around the stars, and we are doing our things on Earth, and so are the insects and the plants. So there's sort of a big a master that's taking care of all of that, a being, and that's the job of Avalokiteshvara, to make everything function in the world. I think the Hindus have put that very beautifully with Brahma, Vishnu, and Krishna, which all have sort of their responsibility, but they're the same being. And one is responsible for creation and destruction, and the other one is responsible sort of for the love and the kindness, and the other one I forgot. But together they make everything happen. Anyway, so I think unfortunately I will be already out of time, and I will have to run to my meeting. I didn't cover much of what I wanted to, but it's fine because I feel we've had a good exchange anyway. Let me see if I can do the next verse quickly. Now that I have this great ship, a precious human life, so hard to obtain, I must carry myself and others across the ocean of samsara. To that end, to listen, reflect, and meditate day and night without distraction is the practice of a Bodhisattva. So, let's imagine all of those atoms that constitute the universe again. And let's say I use a very large spoon and stir it up. And as it's spinning, I take a cup and I fill my cup with the atoms. What are the chances that this cup will give a human being? It could become part of a mountain, it could become a tree, it could become anything. So Buddhist reincarnation works a little bit like that. Sure, there are, especially in Tibetan Buddhism, there are many different yogas, even consciousness transference and all of that. But I don't know how useful it is to consider it from that point of view that we just are a human that becomes another human, possibly with the same personality and preferences. I really like to think more of it like the world is constantly recycling itself into something else. So, and it's obvious that when I die, my body will decompose and I will be back to the earth, and I will feed the worms and I will feed the trees, and the trees will create the oxygen. And so we're part of Buddhism is ecology in a way. The absolute, the ultimate views of Buddhism are very much about the ecology of this world. And I like to think of that as reincarnation. That a little bit of me is now a tree, a little bit of me is now a worm, and maybe they share a little bit of my consciousness. One day I was outside, I know I told you guys that story, but we have a lot of new people. So one day I was outside, there was a loud noise, and I was outside with a dog that we had adopted there, a stray dog. And as the noise happened, I turned my head left, and the dog turned his head left. And it gave me an insight. I said, oh my God, the dog and me, we have the same consciousness. What made him aware of the sound is the same thing that made me aware of the sound, is the same thing that made the sunflower aware of the sun, is the same thing that made the water aware of the rock, and so on. There is a consciousness stuff in everything in the world. But it seems that only as human beings are we able to write about it, talk about it, and share insights about it. And that is why Tibetan Buddhism will tell you that the human life is so precious. How long will it take as you go through the cycle of becoming earth and a tree and falling leaves and all that? How long will it take before you're back together as a human? It will take forever. And the thing is, you are dying right now. The only thing that is absolutely certain in your life is that you will die. Therefore, if you say, oh, I'm going to take care of my career, or I'm going to take care of that one thing, and I'll practice being happier later or helping others later, well, you might not live that long. You might die today, tomorrow, next week, next year. Who knows? Science may allow you to live 200 years. Who knows? But life is very uncertain. Death is certain. And that is why, as Buddhist practitioner, we should be focusing on our practice. So that when the moment of death comes, we are ready to go, so that we can experience first level of death through the death of our ego as we are living, and are a lot more skilled at letting go and at helping others let go during our life. And now I will really have to run. I am a stressed out Buddhist today. I got in real life.
I feel like a lot of it too, though, is just kind of how much of it doesn't die with just your life, So you're not like.
Yes, and that's what matters,
It's
actually.
not to get defeatist about, or is what I'm saying.
That's what matters. That's what Buddhism will tell you matters. Buddhism will tell you everything is impermanent in this world, except for this. So rely on this. Discover this. Find it in you and relate to this.
Okay. So making it, yeah.
I would like to trade places with you, Creek, and maybe you keep the discussion going if you want. Creek is teaching the very same curriculum at night, so and I have to run, but thank you guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you,
Thank
Sergey.
you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you,
Take
thank
care.
you.
Namaste.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
thank you.
Namaste.
Love
Thank
you.
you.
Take care. Love you all.
I love you.
Hello, everybody. It's so good to see
Hello.
you guys.
Hello.
So, I would love to continue the conversation. If anybody has any pressing questions that they might want to ask, let's do that.
Yes.
And as soon as the conversation ends, I'd love to jump into a meditation as well. I know that this is time sensitive, so we all have places to be. So if anybody has a question, I'd love to hear it or a comment.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
So, last session we was talking with Zenke about compassion and evidence, basically. And I don't know who been in last session. Some of the people I know they've been. And we was asking the question after the session, where's the golden line between compassion and evidence and the determination of your self-ego, and where the actual line that you need to pass in inability to actually say to yourself, oh, I'm a compassionate human being, so like with this one I will do that, and this will be my matter of compassion. And we've been thinking, if this dude is here, he can maybe just ask me. No, I think he's not here. Anyway, that was fairly interesting. So, if you understand what I mean,
Sure. So I'm gonna be annoying and ask you a question for yourself.
Okay.
So it's common for us to not know what is the wisest way to use a tool, whether that tool is compassion, like you said, sometimes it's kindness, often it might even be a tool we don't like to use, maybe anger. How do we know if we're being skillful? So, my question for you, I guess it's less of a question and more of a practice, is ask yourself or start with yourself, where can I add compassion to my own experience? The more you play with the tool of compassion, you'll begin to dial in the skillful use of it. You will see in others similar instances and experiences that you yourself have experienced, and what a profoundly vivid canvas to explore your own experience. So I'll have you practice more compassion for yourself, and that will brighten that line of skillful means. I hope I answered your question.
Yep. I think that's kind of
Awesome.
cool. Yeah, that kind of might actually be the answer for the other dude that actually asked the question.
That's great. Do I see a hand back left? Meow?
Yes? I have to say, your voice is really nice. You
Oh, thank you.
have a smooth voice. Kind of like a poem.
Thank you.
I really like it.
Soothing.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
totally.
Thank you.
Almost
It's
like
really
you're
nice to hear.
whispering.
Here, I can
Probably.
move my mic up. I can try to speak louder.
No, it's fine.
No, no
As it
problem.
is.
We can hear you fine.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
It's like the smoothness of Bob Ross.
Yeah, perhaps. For a smooth
But don't fall
criminal.
asleep, Jared. Don't fall asleep, Jared.
No, no. I'm not gonna do that. Not with that guy.
So
He is just in
did we
peace.
Yes, yes. Did we have any more questions? If not, I'd love
I
to
don't know.
jump
I
into
think
a
a lot of it
meditation.
too is what I heard in some article I read is how just being your best self is your contribution to the whole picture too. Where it's, if you're an artist, doing what makes you happy and being a more efficient, artist, as well as enjoying your time, like you have no
Proceed
way
to
of
meditation.
knowing how far your smile
Wish.
or that joke that you said one day is going to affect your friend, and then they'll feel motivated to do their own thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you, no.
So just be
So
happy.
that leads to a wonderful meditation. Yes, Vice? Oh, Vice, you sound very far away from me. Maybe your microphone is the alternate one than the headset.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you are.
Nice.
Yep. So, what I was trying to say is I think to consider what your best self is, I think you should not apply labels to yourself. You should not look at yourself as the artist or the person who plays VR. These things are adjectives. They are parts of you. And I think it is very important to think about that. And because as soon as you place a label on yourself, you create an expectation around expectation and create an ego around it. I think it is important, if you want to be your best self, is to realize that you are a human being and that you are in progress just as much as everyone else.
That's wonderful advice. Thank you, Vice. So, apologies to anyone who has any burning questions. Hopefully they'll be answered in the meditation, but I'm going to go ahead and start in respect to everybody's schedule and day. So, I'm going to have everybody take a deep breath in and find yourself in a awake but comfortable posture that doesn't lead to any uncomfortability for your body. Okay, and once we're here, we'll take one more breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I'll have you gently close the eyes and let your breath resume its natural rhythm. And as you begin to focus on the breath, giving it space to be its own natural cadence, I'd like for you to remember a moment during today's session that may have brought some insight, some clarity, maybe a question that you might have. And as you're opening up this space of awareness and focusing on the breath, on your next breath in, imagine that insight, and I want you to wish it profoundly to be well and to let it go. Breathing in, may you be well. Now, returning to the focus of the breath. Perhaps you might find yourself with an idea or a sensation. I invite you to also place your awareness on it briefly and kindly and gently wish it to be well and let it go. May you be well. Earlier, we spoke about the profound love in every aspect of the world around us. In the blades of grass, in the tree, in the cloud, and in ourselves. An aspect of cultivating loving kindness for the sentient beings of the universe is the realization of how profoundly we are connected to all of the love that is surrounding us and that is within us. The first verse says, "Now that I have this great ship, a precious human life, so hard to obtain, I must carry myself and others across the ocean of samsara. If within us we share the clouds, the sea, even the people passing by, what a wonderful opportunity to end this moment in a sharing of consciousness and in love. Ask yourself if you also benefit the universe around you. How would you like to breathe? How would you like to abide and share that breath of love? On your next breath in, imagining not just for yourself, but for the precious human lives around you and all of the universe. Wish it as you breathe in. May you be well. May you be well. Okay, everybody. I'm gonna have you guys take an intentional deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as you do, mindfully, gently open the eyes. Welcome yourselves back into the temple. If you'd like to put a little energy in your neck, in the chest, in the arms. Thank you guys for not only taking the time for yourselves to genuinely cultivate and water the seeds of peace, but by doing so, you are impacting all of the universe in a way that is profoundly kind. Thank you, and may you be well. As you stand up, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and read the prayer of merit, the dedication, and feel free to leave the temple after I end. For the greater enlightenment of all sentient beings, from the blessings of all victorious Buddhas of all realms, we dedicate the merit accrued by this session. Thank you guys. May you be well.
Oh, that was really good. I enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
We're usually talking
Same.
on the outside.
My
There we go.
We definitely need another level of seats.
Yep.
exact.
It's getting a little crowded suddenly.
Yeah, but I think like it shouldn't be like in like mathematical Excel rows. It should maybe be like a round, like a
Yeah,
close,
definitely. Yeah.
like a
Guys, I want to
auditorium.
do the coffee talks. We should do the coffee talks. It's was a
Coffee
while. Yes, we should do that.
Coffee talk?
I don't know who.
What's that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh wait, you don't know.
No, I don't know what do you
I
mean
will
by
ask
coffee
Click.
talks?
Hey, Click,
I had to go to the bathroom.
That's alright. You missed the meditation.
I'm sorry, but that's fine. My body was like, I need to pee. I need to pee bad.
That's fine. That's fine. Don't worry about it. You're fine. No. Hey, ah, did you enjoy
Yes.
a little bit of this?